Hey everyone, just wanted to do another quick video. I think this one I'm going to take in a little bit different direction than I have most. Um, Most of these videos, going all the way back to the first, have had to do with the Electoral College and the role that it's going to play in this election and why it's important. I've had comments and questions, from both sides about the process and where I think this may be heading and where it's going. I think it's important to note why this has never come up in the past, at least the recent past. Um, for example, when um, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama had their election, why didn't Republicans try it then? When Bush and Gore had their super close election back in 2000, why didn't anybody try it then? And the reason is simple. Both candidates in all of those other elections enjoyed almost universal support from their party. There was really no dissension in the ranks when George Bush was nominated, very little dissension when Barack Obama was. You only have an electoral college issue when you have a candidate that has very questionable support, and we saw this on both sides in this election. There was a guy that I was talking to online about the Democrat primary, and 16.8 million votes for Clinton, 13.2 for Bernie. That's divided. And everybody knows the story behind the Republican primary and the war that went on there with the Republicans doing everything they could to keep this guy from getting nominated. They were almost universal. The other 16 candidates were universal in their desire for this man not to get nominated. And the reason I said all that is I'm still getting these comments about people thinking it's not a believable thing, it's not real, it's not legal. And regardless of all of the things that I post and all of the links, you still just have these folks that just believe this is a fantasy. And I'm pretty much done at this point trying to convince people. If they can't go to the Constitution, if they can't find this out for themselves, then after 9 videos, I'm done beating my head against a wall with that. But there is a couple of things about people have questioned whether I'm really just a closet Hillary Clinton supporter and just doing this pretending to be, not aligned. Really, honestly, I'm not aligned. I really don't like this guy. I mean, I really, really, really don't like this guy. And, I mean, I suppose if you gave me a choice between being trapped on a desert island with one of the two, I would probably have to pick Hillary Clinton. I hate to say it, and I'm going to try to outline in this video why this guy is so much more dangerous for this country than Hillary Clinton ever would have been. I mean, I didn't agree with her policies. I mean, she was a terrible candidate, and she'd made some very bad decisions. But I never saw her as dangerous. This guy's dangerous, and I'm going to outline why. Before I do that, I know I'm kind of jumping around here. I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of people that made comments. Stormcrow, he had shown me some things about Democrat electors trying to flip over, and I have to think that if this had gone the other way, and there had been Democrat electors putting forth all sorts of reasons why they weren't going to vote for Miss Clinton, I don't think we would have seen, any of these Trump supporters saying, "Now wait a minute, no, you can't do that. That's not, constitutional." I think they would have been all for it. I really honestly do, because they would have jumped into Trump's own bandwagon about it being rigged and how the Electoral College is constitutional and it's always been there, blah, 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 blah. But now, of course, when it's going to work against them, of course it's not. So that just kind of, calls them out for being the hacks that they are and not being any kind of person who's looking at it independently. Here's a story where a Democrat elector says he may reject Clinton. That's his right to do. If he wants to do it. This is from Washington State. There's another one here about Colorado. Now, these are all states that went for Clinton, but these members feel like they're perfectly well within their rights to do whatever it is they want to do on the 19th. So the reason I'm putting these up briefly is just to show that this is not a thing where electors are just bound, where they just have they're handcuffed and they're tied, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do, they're just going to get fired and replaced. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. I know a lot of Republican pundits want it to believe that it's that way, but it's not. Going back to the first page here real quick, I think this is pretty damning. Why does he care about the Pennsylvania recount? Why? Do you think that's just some altruistic thing where he just wants to see the money in Pennsylvania spent? It's not his money. It's the state of Pennsylvania. Same thing in Michigan. He's trying to block Michigan. Why? It doesn't do anything. If supposedly what he's saying is true, and it doesn't matter, why does he give a rat's ass? If Michigan would flip, he still supposedly, according to him, has enough electoral votes to win. Now, if Pennsylvania and Michigan, I think, yeah, if I still do my math, even with Pennsylvania and Michigan, even if they would both flip, he would still have the 270. So, why does he care? You have to ask yourself that question. Why does he care? Does he know something, maybe? Does he know something he's not sharing about this electoral movement, that maybe it's much, much bigger? I mean, you cannot seriously, honestly make the argument that this man is really just caring about the budget and financial crunch of the people of Pennsylvania or Michigan. It's just not, no. Sorry, not believable. One of the things that I had covered about this guy in the past, and I'm going to say it again, what perplexes me about Trump supporters, and maybe you Trump supporters can in the comments clear this up for me. When this guy goes out and talks about making America great again and doing all of these wonderful things and that's what he wants to do, what in this man's past makes you believe him? What has this man done in the past that makes you believe that he has any kind of a spirit of service for this country? When Barack Obama was elected, it was very limited, mind you. You could look at his past. You could see, okay, he was a senator from Illinois. Before that, he was a community organizer. He was very interested in politics. He had a vision and a view for how he wanted the country to be, and that's what he had based his life on. He had studied political science at Harvard. And, you could see that. It's like, okay, well, whether you agree with it or not, you could see, okay, that's what Barack Obama wants to do. Okay? When you go back before him, George Bush. George Bush was the, he's from the Bush family, number one. His father had been president, and then he was the governor of Texas. And you could look into his past and say, okay, well, this is what he says, and this is what he's done. And here's the two things that agree, and this is why we're going to elect him. Same thing with Clinton. Go back to Arkansas. And you can do this with almost every single candidate, going back to Reagan. Reagan was a Democratic governor of California and got elected as the Republican president of the United States, one of the most popular presidents we had. But you could see it. You could see it in his actions. You could see it in his past. That they had a belief and they had a vision for what they wanted the country to be, and that they had dedicated their lives to that. What makes you believe this guy has anything other than his own financial best interest in mind? During Reagan, when there was a Republican president, he was a Democrat. Then, magically, under Bush Sr. and Clinton, he identified as a Republican. Then, strangely enough, when George Bush Jr. becomes president, all of a sudden now he's back to being a Democrat again. Then, for a little while, he has this little crisis of faith, and he has this Reform Party thing with Buchanan and David Duke and some other woman. Then now he's back to supposedly being a Republican again. And if you look back at the last video that I did, the thumbnail was a quote from People magazine talking about how he thought if he was ever going to run, he'd run as a Republican because Republican voters are the dumbest in the country, and that he could just lie and get away with it, and he would probably have great numbers. And, he was truth. He absolutely called it. So now, and that's the thing about Republican voters and the people that support him. Usually, everything that they've ever said about their candidates, they've had some kind of a basis for it. This guy, one of the hardest things, I've owned a business. When you own a business, is when you have to let somebody go. It's a hard thing. It really is. It's not something I've never known a boss that's enjoyed firing anybody. You know, when you see anything like that happening inside your organization, you know, you do everything you can to bolster that person up and to get them, you know, to where they need to be and give them every opportunity to succeed. And if they don't, it's a hard, it's a terrible, gut-wrenching thing. This guy saw it as an opportunity for entertainment with NBC. The Apprentice was simply a show about him pointing to somebody and saying, "You're fired." That's what this guy calls entertainment. In every business, and that's the other thing about this guy, he's never tried to run for mayor. He's never tried to run for governor. He's never tried to run for senator. For this guy, it's always been, I'm going to be the chief head honcho dictator of everything, and that's how his business is run. And it's all going to be my way all the time. Or, no, I'm not interested. This guy is supposedly going to be a member of a government that has 3 branches to it, and he's going to work with people, and, you know, he's going to be part of a team. That's just insane. I mean, he's playing nice now, but if somehow this guy would, and look, I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, he could very well make it through the 19th of December, and he could go and he could be inaugurated on January whatever, 20th or whatever. You know, I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm not saying it's a guarantee for sure with the way the Electoral College is behaving. But if this guy actually does get inaugurated as president, there's going to be a giant wake-up call in this country about who this man is. And it's not going to be about from Democrats. It's going to be you Trump supporters. You're the ones that are going to be shaking your head and going, wait a minute. When this guy was done with Chris Christie, who supported him from the very beginning, he dumped him like a sack of potatoes. And you mark my words, he's going to be done with alt-right on the internet. As soon as he gets inaugurated, I guarantee he is going to dump Alex Jones, he is going to dump all the alt-right media, and he's going to throw them overboard, and he's going to take hold of this fake news thing that's out there, and he's going to use it to block people on the internet. I guarantee it. And that means channels right here on YouTube. You know, even though these are going to be the people that got him elected, you know, because he doesn't want there to be any free press once he's in charge. That's what this whole fake news thing is all about. And I just wanted to go to something I found online, and it was purely by accident. This is what they call the National Socialist Program. This is what the Nazis put in. This 25-point program when they took power. Now, I'm not saying this guy is a complete Nazi, but there's point 23 down here. And it says, we demand legal opposition to known lies and their promulgation through the press. And then all writers, employees of the newspapers appearing in the German language must be members of the race. Yeah, that's not going to happen, but non-German newspapers have to get permission, and they can't be printed in German. And non-Germans are forbidden by law any financial interest in German publications, blah, blah, blah. But it's the first one that I want to talk about, the very first thing. Legal opposition to known lies and their promulgation through the press. Now, does that sound like the fake news thing that's going on about right now with that whole Pizzagate nonsense? I mean, seriously, it sounds exactly like it. That they want people to be legally prosecuted and thrown overboard and have legal sanctions put against them if they put out something the state believes to be a lie. Or the state wants everybody to believe to be a lie. So, anyway, good luck, folks. We'll see how things go, but I doubt this is going to be my last video, the way things are going. God bless.